Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks. I need to start making some more stuff. I need to start making some more videos. Um, I have a few ideas in the old noggin stirring around. Um, Stuff to talk about for tanker life and whatnot. I think I'm going to do a video about fittings because I have a buddy who's going through training right now at Quality Carriers, and he's not struggling, but he just has a few a few questions and whatnot. So I figured the questions that he has, he can't be the only one. So gonna do some talking about that kind of stuff. I guess super duper duper basic stuff. See, YouTube doesn't change the formatting for how they do lives. I don't even know what the title of this one is. It didn't even give me an option on what to change it to. Oh yeah, that was a good surge. That was a nice one right there. I appreciate it, Mr. Eric. Thanks. I've only been driving for about 2 hours, on duty for about 2.5 hours, been driving for about two, so I try to drive nighttime to turn more miles. I'm going to try, can't guarantee, but I am going to try my hardest to make it to my delivery out in Roanoke, Texas, which is northwest side of the Dallas Fort Worth area. Try to make it out there and get it delivered a day early. So we'll see. If I make it, nice. If not, whatever. And then after that, I am in Tennessee. I'm about, I'll tell you in 1 second. I'm in Tennessee right now. I'm rolling towards Memphis on 40 at the moment. So I'll tell you exactly how many miles I am from the Memphis area. Let me see. That mile marker says 137. So I'm about 130 or so miles away from Memphis. So yep, about 2 hours west of Memphis, trying to make it all the way to Dallas. But I mean, it's not mandatory that I do that. So just a personal thing. I like to ride and get it. Do I miss Walmart? I miss Walmart as the job in and of itself. I can definitely say since Walmart, I have I ever delivered in Iowa. Like, okay, well, we'll start with Walmart question. I miss the job in and of itself. Um, I don't miss working out of Shelby. Shelby it just had a very toxic management. And I'm sure since you've been with Walmart, you can definitely understand. The job in and of itself is good, but depending on the management at the office that you're out of, can really make or break your time there. Now, however, delivered in Iowa, in general, in general, as far as trucking in general, yes, plenty of times. With Transwood, no, not yet. I primarily, for the most part, stay I-35 from Texas up to Wisconsin area and everything east. Um, if they give me a load that would go out there, sure, yeah, no problem. I've gone to California and Nevada and whatnot with Transwood, but that was like a one-time thing on a dedicated account thing that they had pop up because one of the terminals out that way needed help running cyanide. But ma- outside of that, everything is east of I-35. You're in New York City. Oh man, Transwood is pretty good. Not gonna lie, Transwood is pretty good. When you're being efficiently dispatched over here, you can definitely make more than you make at Walmart, for sure. Excuse me, well, let me put it this way: when you're running out in the system, basically OTR, if you're being efficiently dispatched and the freight is moving, you can make more than you make at Walmart, for sure, and work a lot less. Like I just got off of a 34-hour reset, and I didn't even need to take one because I still had like 26, 27 hours left on my 70. Um, and yeah, I grossed probably about 2,600. It would have been more, but I'm choosing to take the trip that I'm on now, even though it falls on last pay period. I'm choosing to move it over to next week, um, just cause. And without this trip, it was still like 2,600 gross. So I really can't complain. Um, they're not strict. They're not on your back. As long as you're doing your job and you're being safe, nobody says anything. Um, but again, with Transwood, same as Walmart, the office that you work out of can really make or break your time here. It is Down to One by Luke Bryan. I love this song. So yeah, can't really complain. I have, I like I've told you guys before. I know I've talked about it a lot on TikTok. I've been doing more stuff on TikTok. It's just a little bit. It's a lot easier to maintain TikTok than YouTube. Um, I'm really fortunate to have a terminal in Augusta. I have my house. I can just drive 20 minutes to the yard, and If I want to run local, I'll run local for a while. If I want to be out on the road like I am now, I'll be out on the road. And if I want to work Monday through Friday type deal, I can do that. Um, I have the ability to move around in that manner. You know, the same way as someone who lives in the same town as their Walmart DC, a lot more options are open for them because they don't have to worry about the commute. Um, uh, I I'm assuming you mean like what kind of freight am I pulling? I'm pulling tanker now. Um, Truck in general is a freightliner. My hazards were on because I was pulling a hill, so I slowed down to about 45 miles an hour. Um, and how much is the load that I'm on right now? Let me see. So, as far as mileage pay, um, let me see. Mileage pay times 0.65 plus 30 for unload. I may or may not have detention. As it stands right now, base pay for the load that I'm on is $940. Um, yeah. Now, if I get detention for whatever reason, didn't get detention while getting loaded because it was a preloaded trailer. I'm delivering to Bear Processing. Um, so I may or may not get detention there. It just depends on how long it takes them to unload me. Um, but as it stands, base pay for this particular load is $940. Um, my goal is to net 2K at least being OTR. I have no tanker experience. Are you trying to get into tanker or just saying in general? Take home 2,000. Yeah, over at Transwood, you can definitely do that on a consistent basis. Very much so consistent. I just finished my first year here, um, and I made in my first year here a little bit over 90,000. Um, yeah, and that includes weeks where I only work like 1 or 2 days. Um, Weeks I actually took off and didn't do anything. So over at Trans, we can definitely knock down 100,000 easy, and that's with me being brand new to tanker. Because that includes my training pay, as training and learning how to do the job. Um, a lot of time was spent running local, and local you don't make as much as you would over the road. So if you're over the road purely at Transwood and you stay out, you can definitely make a shit ton more than someone driving for Walmart. Don't want to bump docks anymore. Um, Trans does training. Honestly, look into, I guess, a company that works best for you. Um, if you don't want to deal with chemicals, Transfer's not the place to go because we do all chemicals. You have food grade tanker. Honestly, find a tanker company that will do training. And tanker is not hard at all. Good luck in the trucking business. But before I go, how much do you make a year? Like I said, I just made in the neighborhood of 90 something thousand dollars, a little bit more. I don't have the number in front of me, but from year to date, from starting to when it ended, my first technical year on paper, 90 something thousand. Um, you don't want to bump docks anymore? Yeah, definitely come to Tanker. You're not going to bump docks, and like if you do bump a dock, it's because you have to unload your tank into like totes. Um, and it's real nice. One thing that's really nice about it, like a lot of these places you go to, if you're bumping a dock there, shipping and receiving hours might be from like 7 a.m. to 4 or 5 in the evening. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Um, 7 a.m. to like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Well, those machines are still running all night long because you still have to make the product. So let's say you pull up somewhere and you pull up at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. If you're lucky enough to have someone there that knows how to run the sample on the load or knows what they're doing and tells you where to unload at and knows how to find out there's room for the product, they'll be like, all right, sign your paperwork, and you unload yourself with tanker a good bit of the time. I'd say about 50-50. Um, Sometimes you'll unload yourself, sometimes the customer unloads you. But either way, a lot of times you can show up to these places outside of the business hours, and if there's someone there that knows what they're doing, they'll go ahead and unload you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I gotta burn that. That's how you make money, man. Driving during the day, you too much traffic. Out here at night, a few cars here and there, but outside of that, you just keep it pushing. But yeah, I like tanker. I'd say one big downside with tanker is when you come up to holidays or something, you might as well stay at the house. You might as well stay at the house, because when you're bumping the dock, let's say you show up and it's a holiday and somebody might say, hey, yeah, I guess I'll unload you, whatever. They can take your product off, your pallets off, and just sit it on the dock somewhere, and they'll get to it when they get to it after the holiday. Tanker, these companies account for the holidays, so they might slow down the production. They might be producing, let's say, 100 units of whatever, and with the holiday coming up, they might slow it down to maybe 50 or 60 units. Units is just a rudimentary, you know, term that I'm using. And so what'll happen is they know that they're not going to need a truck, so they just won't order that chemical. And then what's happening is because they don't order the chemical, all these chemical factories, they slow down their production because nobody needs it. They're still making it, it's just very slow. So they might be pushing out typically, 30, 40, 50 loads a day. Then a holiday comes around, they might only push out 5 or 10 loads, and then they might have a day where they're not pushing out anything. So it's very possible. Like what was it? Labor Day. I sat for like 3 days down in Houston because there was just no freight coming out. Now it was a mixture of no freight and inefficient dispatching. Um, yeah, definitely do that, dude. Get clean, especially. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the whole clearinghouse thing and whatnot that they have going on, where people that haven't taken that, that had some kind of DUI or drug something. I don't think it's, some kind of something dealing with drugs or and alcohol. If they haven't taken a course by a certain time, they're going to lose their CDL. So there's thousands of drivers out here who are looking to possibly lose their license. So definitely get clean, and once you're clean, dude, stay clean. Stay. It's definitely worth it. Um, Staying clean. The trade off. Well, yeah, that's coming up. So the feds are definitely cracking down on that kind of stuff. So um, be careful with it. You're doing the right thing, waiting to get clean, but once you're clean, stay that way. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a while. Like I was saying a second ago, it's a lot easier to deal with TikTok. So I have been doing more TikToks lately. Definitely not the same kind of content as I did over here on YouTube. YouTube was more training and helping. TikTok is just me being more goofy, with occasional good training stuff every now and then. But like I was just saying a second ago, I definitely need to ramp up my YouTube and whatnot. 2 months clean now. I'm waiting until 9 months before I go. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, those randoms will really fuck someone up. My TikTok name is that underscore rigger underscore Gibbs. Yeah, not a big channel by any means. I only have like 63, 6,400, followers right now. Definitely not big by any means. TikTok is. I'm not trying to use that for money. I just do that for fun. Something to do. Oh, yeah. Another thing for tanker, if you're hauling chemicals, definitely be careful, getting the stuff on you. Um, definitely be careful. Some stuff really sucks getting it on you. Other things not so much. Um, you might have the same product, on two different loads, but the makeup of it is a little bit different than the load you had prior. Like I've hauled acrylic resin and delivered to a spot that's up in north side of Atlanta, and that it's basically like milk. It almost looks like milk. You could literally pour it in a cup of empty cup and pour another glass of milk next to it, and you wouldn't tell the difference. You know, you couldn't even smell the difference. I obviously don't taste it, but yeah. And then I've had that same chemical recently where I delivered out in Alabama, but that needed a slightly different composition to it. And man, it was so rough. Like to even when you have to bleed the air out the trailer at the end, just bleed it out and get away from it because the smell had an incredibly strong like alcohol smell to it, and it was rough to breathe around. You do any clean outs or no? Yes, after every single load, your trailer gets washed out. You do go to a tank washout. Now, Transwood's very good with that. You know, a lot of the tank wash that we go to, it'll be somewhere where we have dozens of trailers. Um, So the entire year I've been here with Transwood, I've only gone to a tank washout and had to get a live washout once. Keep in mind, running out in the system, every single load after every single load, you have to do a washout, unless you are getting reloaded with the exact same chemical, the exact same consistency, the exact same composition from A through Z. Even if there's any small deviation, you're not gonna top load, and that's what's called when you have a dirty trailer, but you get it loaded with the exact same chemical again. That's called top loading. Um, I've only ever top loaded one time, and that was doing a local run back home. But outside of that, yeah, every single load is a washout. When I'll go to the tank wash, I'll drop the dirty trailer there, fill out the paperwork to have it submitted, and then they'll typically tell me which trailer to grab out of that wash because we have different types of trailers. Um, so I might be going, I might go to a prime example. I might go to a the tank wash up in Chicago, Calumet Tank and Wash. They might have a center unload that's clean and ready to go. They might have a rear unload that's clean and ready to go. They might have a rear ventilation trailer that's clean and ready to go. To the average person, you might just pull up and say, "Hey, I'm going to grab one of those and just keep on pushing." Well, Dow might say, "Hey, coming up, your driver and take it down to us." So my dispatcher normally say, "Hey, after you're done, take this trailer over to Calumet Tank and Wash, drop it there, and pick up trailer 79123 RV." And I'll go there and specifically look for 79123 RV because where I'm dropping it specifically requested an RV trailer because the customer that load that's going into that RV trailer might need an RV trailer to be able to unload. You met me from Richard. Yeah, he's doing well. He's over at Veterans. He's doing really well. He's home every single day. Um, yeah, he's home every single day over there with his runs. Leaves Augusta and goes down to Savannah and back to Augusta, or he'll just shuttle some loads around from John Deere and Augusta over to the yard. Well, there a lot that they rent out from over there. Yeah, so he doesn't. He's big on. He has a big channel on TikTok. So yeah, I don't know his channel name off the top of my head. If you look up Rich and Rich, you'll see his channel. He has, I want to say mid 40 something thousand followers, almost 50,000. But yeah, Richard's doing really well. Him and the wife and kids, they're all doing well. Me and Janisha and I, we're doing well. Um, we just had baby number five about 2 months ago. So yeah, I don't know if I've updated you guys. So I know when I was with Walmart, I told you guys about that ridiculous miscarriage that we had where she almost died and whatnot. Y'all that have been around for a while, y'all know what I'm talking about. So I think that video talked about, I think it was like pray for me or something. Um, so we ended up losing the baby actually that night that I made that video. Um, we that was actually like literally when it happened. Um, like literally that same span of time I was home, we ended up losing the baby. Um, so not long after that, um, we ended up getting pregnant again, and because we knew what was going to happen, we were able to prepare for it. So she had a rough, the first trimester of that pregnancy was rough, but we knew exactly how to, um, what nutrients to get her, what meds to get her. So we were on it like white on rice. Long and short, we ended up having Ryan. So Ryan Andrew Gibbs, and he is 15 months now. And not long after Ryan, we ended up getting pregnant with the next one. That we weren't trying to do that; it just happened because hey, we like to do what we do. So Raiden is here. His name is Raiden Tyler Gibbs. Raiden is right at 2 months. So now we have a family of seven: me, Janisha, Miranda, JJ, Ray J, Ryan, and Raiden. The BS General Freight. Like, so I guess what about the General Freight made you quit? What made it so BS that made you say, you know what, fuck it? Was it dealing with brokers, loads falling through for backhauls? Hazardous waste is pretty good money from what I've heard, at least on the side where they're making all the profit, like the company side. How they pay the drivers and it's up to the company, but I typically hear that stuff makes good money. Coonley Brothers, I know there was some kind of like spill. They pay them percentage over there, and they were doing some kind of like spill that happened in Ohio about a year or two back. Usual broker, cheap freight. Yep, that sounds about right. That's the big plague in the market right now. But yeah, Coonley was hauling hazardous spill waste and stuff like that, and them boys were at the time where I think they were knocking down $3,000-4,000 a week. Cheap freight, yeah. Transwood won't budge on their rates, at least out of my terminal. Each terminal kind of handles their own thing and just reports back to corporate. Um, the staffing in my terminal, it's very. I don't want to say we're small. We are small. There's only about, I'm going to say maybe 30 drivers at most out of my terminal, and that's between mixture of local and OTR and dedicated guys. About 30 of us. So I mean, you'll go into the office and you'll definitely hear them talking to customers and negotiating rates and whatnot. We don't out of my terminal. They don't budge on the rate con. They're not gonna budge on the rate. Yeah, brokers. Whew. I don't foresee the industry getting any better until we honestly lose a lot more drivers on the road. And it seems as if that's the new win thing is for everybody to seem to want to get their CDL. COVID showed truck drivers can make good money, and now everybody in the almost is going to get a CDL. So it's definitely not the same out here, as it was when I first made this channel. Definitely not the same. Um, I think it's a lot rougher for people who are just now starting out because companies are a lot more picky who they pick and choose to drive for them. And with being brand new, you kind of just have to take what you can get and hope for the best. All right, dude, come on and pass me. Jeez, stop hanging out next to me. Don't slow down. Like, what are you doing? Don't slow down. Keep going. Keep your foot in the pedal. Jesus. Of course, he wants to pick up the pace right as we're going up an incline now. And I have 49,000 pounds inside the trailer, so I'm at gross, so of course I'm going to bleed off a little bit of speed. Got another tanker on the shoulder. We'll move over for him real quick. Yeah, I don't know if y'all saw that video of that TA road mechanic. He was changing the tire on a flatbed that's on the side of the road, and somebody wasn't paying attention and sideswiped the truck and the TA road truck and totaled all three vehicles: that semi truck, the road call truck, and his own truck. I mean, that dude was like shaken up in the worst way possible. I mean, he like you could tell like the extreme level of fear in his voice and how distraught he was. It was insane. And that video has like a couple million views right now on TikTok. His channel is incredibly small. Like at the time when he uploaded the video, I think he only had like 300 or 400 subs, and now he's probably like, I wouldn't even be. I haven't checked. He's probably at damn near maybe 7,000 8,000 now. But I was like, dude, you're better than me, because like he was distraught, and then the guy that hit them was just like, dude, I'm sorry, just nonchalant about it. And I said, man, you're better than me. I said, I promise you, I would have swung on that dude, especially coming over and trying to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, and just being all chill about it. Oh, I said, man, you are better than me. I said, I would have swung on him, and I said, I would have worried about jail later. I'm not even a fighter, violent person like that, but you almost fucking killing me like that, and then you're just gonna play it down. Oh, mm. Oh, boy, 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 boy. I get paid mileage. I was talking about Coonley Brothers. They get paid percentage. I get paid mileage. I get paid 65 cents per mile. If I do a 34-hour reset, I get $250. I get paid 28 an hour for detention, and I get paid $30 per unload. Um, and of course, every so often they have other random accessory pay that they'll throw in and whatnot. I'm sure percentage pay drivers are probably hurting right now. Well, I guess it just depends on the kind of freight you're pulling in, how high it is, how high of an actual rate they're getting on it. Because if they're getting good rate, the company's getting a good rate, the percentage is going to be pretty good as well. That's the part that kind of scares me about a percentage pay job. Is you can ask like, hey, what's the percentage? And they might say they're paying like 20. I think Kumi is paying like 23%. I mean, but if you ever look them up, they have ridiculously nice tricked out trucks. So you got to pay for them somehow. So the driver's percentage pay is a little bit lower. Um, but you know, you might say they're paying 27, 30%, and that sounds good. But I would love to ask, well, how much, like, what kind of rates are you guys getting, so you can find a percentage, what 30% or 27% of that rate is. And the thing is, that part that scares me is they can tell you anything, and it's few and far in between where you'll find a company that'll show you the legitimate actual number as far as this is what we were making off of this load. Even when some say they do, they're not actually doing it. 27 percentage, but cheap freight didn't make up hazmat was high. Yeah, yeah. So you definitely understand what I'm talking about. Hazmat hazmat pays good. Um, but if those backhauls just aren't worth the damn, it's going to bring that average down for sure. And then if they're fighting to find a decent rate one, then you're going to end up sitting somewhere and waiting for the backhaul. Ugh, yeah. What kind of truck were you pushing? Man, I feel you on that one. That was why I left veterans. I mean, it was nice having that long nose Pete and everything. It was real nice having that, but typically you're going to have to pay. It's sad. It's sad to say it, and I wish it wasn't true, but 95% of the time, having a really nice truck, driving for a company with a really nice truck, you're gonna feel the burn somewhere along the line because somebody's got to pay for the price tag associated with that truck, and unfortunately, it's usually the driver that gets the shit end of the stick. And that's what happened with veterans. They were paying 70 cents per mile when I was over there, 70 cents per mile W-2, and they cut us from 70 cents per mile down to 55 cents per mile, and then closed down the Alabama terminal and forced us to go 1099. And they said the reason that they cut back the pay was so they could take cheaper freight, and they ended up never taking the cheaper freight. So they stayed looking for high paying freight, but still kept all that additional profit. And yeah, we were hurting. I mean, I was making eight, 900, $1,100 gross checks. They gave you a new one both years. Oh, that's nice. A Kenworth, like a T680. I'm assuming you mean like a T680 by saying a regular 23 kW. And it was not. Oh, and it was nice, being ungoverned, just rolling. Oh, it was so nice. Really, I've heard TMC guys are, I guess for intro into the trucking industry, I've heard their pay was pretty good. I guess apparently I'm wrong. I always heard TMC was really good pay. Educate me on that, cause I'm learning something new right now. I've had people ask me, am I considering being an owner operator? Not right now, not in this industry and whatnot. Um, I've heard so many mixed reviews. Some people are saying, yeah, you can buy a truck now because everybody, trucks are getting repossessed and freight is, trucks are cheap. I'm just like, well, yeah, it might be cheap, but if rates are still low and freight is not just flowing like that, what's the point? You can get a cheap truck, but if you can't even afford to make those cheap payments, like what really is the point? Trimac, I see them out here. Um, yeah, I see Trimac out here. I don't know anything about them. I mean, I see them, but it's not all the time. Maybe their lanes are slightly different than my lanes. I have a buddy who drives for a company called Par Logistics. He he ain't complaining. They have really nice trucks, ridiculously nice trucks. If you actually look on YouTube for Coonley Brothers, the guy that did one of the interviews, Cody Marvel, he's the one I'm talking about. He left Coonley, went over to Par Logistics. He's he ain't complaining, and his truck is fucking sick. QC, an old timer, told me to stay away. Quality carriers. Honestly, I mean, I don't. I got so in Augusta, we have a quality carriers terminal around the corner from us, and they do a lot of the same stuff that we do at Transwood because we have Olin that pushes out a lot of hydrochloric acid, bleach, and caustic. So a lot of their local runs are from Olin as well. So you see them all the time. Um, he left Transwood to go over to QC, and he's running local. So he's saying at local side he's probably making about the same. Their base pay right now is more than what well, if I were to leave Transwood and go over to Quality Carriers, my base pay would be more than what I make here at Transwood. Um, yeah, you're absolutely right. Everybody has different experiences. But yeah, if I were to go to Quality Carriers with my experience and having a year and some change on the tanker, my base pay would jump from 65 to 67 cent per mile, and then anything over 2,000 miles is a 7 cent per mile um, additional. So it'd be 67 or 70, 74. You don't get paid for 34-hour resets, 28 an hour for detention, and $30 for unload, from what I'm being told. But and apparently the dispatcher out of Augusta, she is incredibly efficient, so she keeps you moving. But I don't know. I think I'm gonna stay where I'm at. I'm pretty happy. Sure, there's things I don't like, but all in all, I am pretty happy over here at Transwood. So I don't really have a pressing reason to just up and leave. Um, but then everyone has different experience. Absolutely right, different experiences. I actually said that when a couple minutes ago um when I was talking about uh, Walmart and whatnot. The job in and of itself is fine, but honestly, the management and your dispatching, the management can make or break your experience with a company. Um, yeah, some people will go to an absolutely terrible company and say that they're loving it, and then some people will go to that terrible company and say it's fucking terrible. Uh, I think performance based that sounds good if they're not trying to fuck you. Because Rail went to a when I was with Rail, they had a performance based pay where your pay could go up or down, and it was crazy because like when you start trying to get to a certain point, they would start slowing your miles down, and it was almost as if it was punishment to go home because you took a week off. It was ass backwards. So I think performance sounds good if they don't mind giving you runs behind it and they're not going to slow you up. And if they're not trying to play games, I think that would make sense. driver facing cameras. We have cameras right now with Transwood. Maybe it's just me. This is my first time ever having a driver facing camera. I've literally don't have any issues with it. I've had one camera event from like the inside of the truck, and it wasn't even like anything bad. Like I hit a bump and it knocked my phone off the phone mount, and like I picked it up, and the AI system can track what you're doing like that, and I picked it up and I put it back on the mount, and I mean it literally that was it. And my tunnel manager was just like, hey, he was just like, this came through. Clearly, I can see you hit a bump and the phone fell out and you're putting it back up. He was like, whatever. That was it. So I mean, I don't have any issues with the inward facing camera. Now, I mean, when I'm off duty or whatever, I will cover it. Um, Simply because I don't trust the camera. Even if I knew the camera was on facing, I still covered the inward side. I don't know. I feel like they tell you that they're not watching, but I really feel like they do. They do watch. They do watch. Most you made at TMC was 80K. How hard were you running? 80K isn't really bad if you're a brand new driver. If you're brand new, 80K is pretty good, very good actually. And if I'm not mistaken, they work you on a Monday through Friday schedule. I have a question about TMC. Is it true that if you don't get your truck washed once a week, that they will go and start holding dispatch from you until you get it cleaned? Is that true, or is that just a myth? Old Jackson, Tennessee. Okay, that's not too bad. Uh, The only issue I'd see with getting the truck washes like that would be like if they don't give you personal conveyance. I don't know. That would throw me off because now you have to burn your own personal clock to get it washed. Um, I don't know. That's my only thing with that. Or if they're sending you places where you're not really passing a blue beacon like that, because a blue beacon is not on every corner. So if they're sending you places where you're like not really passing blue beacons, that often, or if you do stop for a blue beacon, you might be late for the load. That would be my only thing. It's just like, well, it's not really convenient for me to stop at one, and I don't have personal conveyance to where I can get it done, kind of off duty type deal. I would like to think the more efficient thing would be for them to put it into one of your trips, work it into a trip for you to stop at a blue beacon and get washed, and then pay you for the time you're getting washed. Which I don't know if they pay you for it or not, but to me that would make way more sense. Put it into the routing, and when you get to the blue beacon, they pay you for however long you are there. Because shit, I've gone to blue beacon and that line is long as all get out, and yeah, I've sat in a line in a blue beacon for like an hour and a half before. Okay, dude, ride around getting it. Let's see how fast you're going. See if I can pick him up. Dude is doing 100 miles an hour. 100 miles an hour. My God. In like a 65, 70 zone? Yeah. It is to get a wash once a month. Um, yeah, transfer. They give us washes. It's not mandatory, but you're allowed to wash the truck once a week on the company's dime. I personally like to add a few extra things. The citrus clean that they do at Blue Beacon. I don't do the brightener because the brightener will strip your rims. So if you have them polished, it'll strip off all the polish. So if you're about to repolish them, then definitely do the brightener. Um, for sure, do the brightener because you need a good base foundation to start from. But if they're polished and you're not about to polish them again, or they're good where they're at, I would definitely, 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 um, I would definitely do the citrus clean. That citrus clean, it smells really nice. One, and two, it cleans off all that crud and shit you have on your rims, and it leaves a very nice, beautiful shine. The only downside is companies don't pay for it. So, um, if you're going to, I can't remember how much it is off the top of my head, but if you elect to have it done, you're going to probably pay, I think maybe like $10 to $20 out of pocket, something like that. I can't remember, but I mean you can write it off at the end of the year for taxes. So I mean you're going to get it back one way or another. Well, I don't know. The way the economy is, the government is finding any kind of way they can to screw you out of giving you money. So By the way, yes, I listen to hard rock and death metal. I don't know if y'all ever knew that, but I do. Schedule. So you only get a 34-hour reset, so you don't get a full 2 days off. You just get a strict 34-hour reset. That blows. Yeah, whenever I get a servicing done on my truck, I'll normally do it like on a home time. Like if I see that I'm coming up on time to get it done, they'll even do it early. I've had times where it's just like I'm about to head back out and my service is like 3,000 miles away. I'll just tell Charlie at the shop like, "Hey, my service it's like 3,000 miles away." I'm like, "You think you guys can fit it in while I'm here?" And they'll just go ahead and do it early because it makes no sense to dispatch me out for me to go try to do 3,000 miles and then hopefully be able to like route me back or find somewhere for me to get the service done. They'll just do it while I'm at home on home time. And then if I'm still running local, I'll just drive a different truck, like one of the spare trucks at the yard for a local run while they have my truck in the shop that day. I can definitely say my shop, Transway at my terminal, they are second to none. Oh my God. They they don't fucking play. Like you can tell them what's going on. You can just pull up at the yard and they'll they won't keep you waiting. Like let's say you need to get like new tires or some shit and they're just like, well, when are you dispatching back out? I could tell them like, I'm dispatching out in like 2 or 3 days. If they can't get the tires in that short amount of time, they'll take good tires off of one of the spare trucks, and put them on your truck and put your old tires on that spare truck. And then what they'll do is when those tires are in, they'll sit there and wait, give you a whole new set of virgin tires all the way around. They're not just like good parting your shit out. They part your shit out when it needs to be done. But yeah. But they'll always give you the brand new stuff whenever you come in. That's one thing I really like that my terminal does. They really look out for you. And they do this for every driver. That sounds, ugh. So you don't really have a home life. So yeah, Charlie and the guys in the shop, they're good. They're really good. I'm looking into possibly trying to become a trainer. Um, um, because all of our trainers at my terminal, they're all local guys. None of them come out here in the system and run like I do. So when they hire someone for the system, they'll learn how to be a tanker driver, but they're not taught on how to do stuff out here out in the system because running the system is different than running local. Local, you don't like if you do go to the tank wash, it's not the same. Like so we have a tank wash in Augusta. If you're local, what'll happen is like let's say you go to Atlanta, Georgia, to pick up a load of FR3 oil that goes to Power Partners in Athens. You'll go and preload it in Atlanta, come back to Augusta. Then you'll go do the delivery Tuesday in Athens, Georgia. And then when you come back, you just drop the trailer at the tank wash. And then you just go back. You go back to the yard and you're done for the day. And then somebody else will go get the trailer and take it to get loaded somewhere else. They don't do the whole dropping a trailer there and picking up an RV trailer or something because the trailers that they have are all dedicated. Um, or we run bleach, hydrochloric acid, caustic, alum, um, on hydrogen peroxide on the local side, and they don't those don't get washed out. It is very rare that those get washed out. So literally, you'll pick up the trailer, go get it loaded, go make a delivery, come back and drop it at the yard, and then somebody else will pick it up for a different run another day, and it gets top loaded with the same thing. So it's like they don't deal with tank washes in the same way that I do. They don't you don't they're not really filling out the paperwork for it in the same way that I do. Um, it's essentially a local job. You do the same thing every single day. And their trip sheets are pre-filled out. So for me, I get a blank trip sheet. So actually let me see if I can show you guys. Um, see if I can show y'all. So yeah, out here when you're running the road, this is what my trip sheets look like. They're blank. There's nothing fucking on them. So you have to do it. You have to fill the whole thing out yourself. Versus when you're local, I just left the house, so that's why I have a pre-filled out trip sheet. When you're local, all this information you guys probably can't see. Everything that's on here is pre-filled out. So, like when I was going through training, I asked my trainer. I was just like, so how do you fill out a trip sheet? He goes like, I don't know. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes like, shit. On the local side, it's all pre-filled out. And I'm just like, so when I'm out in the system, how do I know how to do it? He goes like, I don't know, just good luck. So he taught me just enough to know how to be a tanker driver. And as far as time management and everything else out here in the system, how the different procedures are at these various plants, he couldn't tell me. Here's another thing. Um, being a system driver, see if I can fucking find it. Being a system driver, you're you're going to plants all over the fucking country. Where the hell is it? It's up here. And when you're going to plants all over the country, a lot of times they'll have you do like a little a little safety thing, basically saying that you're not going to be stupid and you're going to abide by the plant rules and whatnot. Um, why can't I find it? Knocking out just all my shit. So I have a plastic bag filled with certification cards from plants all over the region that we go to that I run. Um, a lot of them only have cards for a few of the same plants that they go to. Most of the plants they go to, they don't even need them. For me, if I have cards from like Michigan, Texas, Virginia, West Virginia, um, Georgia, Florida, all over. Thank you. I appreciate that. Another reason I'd want to be a trainer is um, a lot of the guys that come through, they tend to they learn how to tank. My trainer, I'm not going to say his name. There, he was good. He's been with transfers for like 20 something years. He knows what he's doing, but he wasn't. It was very weird. Like if you ask him a question, he's not going to tell you anything while you're out there just doing it. He expects you to learn by watching him do it, and then you hopefully you learn by watching somebody else do it, and you just pick it up. Um, and if you ask him questions, he would answer the questions. But then if you asked him too many questions because you just needed to know, he would start getting upset. Like you could visibly see him getting an attitude because you're asking him questions. In my mind, I'm just like, that's kind of a shitty way to train. Lucky for me, I'm able to just pick up stuff and learn very fast. Um, but what happens if you have someone that is not a visual learner like me? What happens if you have someone that needs to ask a million and one questions? Well, then they're going to have a really shitty experience if you have a trainer that doesn't like your student to ask questions. He just wants you to watch and hopefully you figure it out. Um, and then I had a second trainer. The problem with my second trainer is he's a very one way kind of guy. If you're not doing it the exact same way he does it, you're wrong. It's a fucking problem. You're going to get bad marks all the way across the board. And with it being a tanker driver, there is not one way on how to do this. There's multiple ways on how to do this. Um, there's multiple ways on how to unload a tanker. Um, Prime example. Before I get to the example, the reason I think I'd want to be a trainer is I'm very big on principle. I will teach a person step one, step two, step three, all the way through the end. I'm going to teach you a certain way of steps because there is a level of the steps that you should follow in a certain order. Um, but then after I see that they understand the steps, which all you really, honest to God, have to do is probably unload a tank trailer. Um, I want to say if you're going to be in training, for training shouldn't really take more than 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks most. 2.5 weeks if you're like completely just not getting it. Um, so yeah, the probably I want to say by the end of the first week, you should know how to unload the trailer. You should because it's all the same. When you're air unloading it, it's all the same. You're either using air or you're using a pump. Um, so if you're using air, it unloads the same way every single time. Doesn't matter what chemicals in there. If you're using a pump, it unloads the same way every single time. Doesn't matter the chemical that's in there. Um, Once I see you know how to do both, then I will start trying to more so reinforce principles because there's certain principles that once you start understanding what you're doing, then learn the principles and get a deeper understanding. And the reason I say that is there are going to be times where you're out here in the system on the road where you might not, it might not be A through Z. You might come into an issue somewhere. And if you understand the principle, the concept of what you're doing, then you'll be able to think around that problem. Um, Prime example, one customer that I had in Atlanta, not it wasn't the customer, it was the trailer that I had. You have on the trailers, you typically have three different locations where you can hook up the air to put pressurize the trailer. You have three different locations where you can pressurize the trailer. You can hook the air up in the front, the middle, or the top. Now, each one of those spots has a pressure gauge, so you can see how many pounds of pressure, your psi that you're at inside the trailer. So when I hooked up my air to the front, I realized that I saw the pressure gauge hit about 15 psi. But then when I went to the rear of the trailer, I saw that my rear pressure gauge was showing zero. The product wasn't coming off. So I started running through trying to troubleshoot. I said, okay. I climbed to the top of the trailer. That gauge was showing zero psi. So sometimes you can have broken gauges. It happens. So what ended up happening was I went and talked to the customer. I said, hey, can you confirm if the tank is receiving or not receiving any product? So they said they looked and watched the gauge for a couple of minutes. They hit me back on the radio saying negative, the tank is not receiving any product. I said, okay, cool. That eliminated there being an issue with the customer side. That let me know there's an issue with my system. So now I have to troubleshoot, figure out what the fuck is going on. Why am I not pressurizing the trailer? So I went to the back, I closed my internal valve, and now the trailer is sealed off. So now I can essentially start pressurizing and not have issues because what you don't want to do is open up the valves and then start trying to build pressure. You're going to have a hard time building pressure or building pressure as fast as you could if the internal valve was closed. Because once you start building pressure, it starts pushing the product out. And if you have a little bit more pressure in the trailer, it'll push it out at a faster rate. Um, so basically, I closed the internal and I sealed off the trailer, so now I can pressurize it at a rate that I want to. So what I did was shut off my air, closed up my Pelican valve, undid the air hose, and what I did was I ran the air hose to the top of my. They're all Chicago fittings, so you can actually bypass those two air inlets at the bottom of the trailer, and you can unhook it at the top where it hooks in, and you can take the air hose and directly hook it to the top of the trailer. So what I ended up doing was hooking the air to the top of the trailer, um, opening up that Pelican valve, and restarting the air from my PTO. Now, what's going to happen if you're understanding the principle of what you've just done? You can no longer check the front and rear pressure gauge because it's not getting any pressure because you've bypassed the whole air system and you're directly putting air from your PTO, your air source, directly to where it goes into the trailer. So those two other ports, they're not sensing any air pressure. So now, because you're running, in order to monitor the pressure, you're going to have to climb the ladder and visually check that pressure gauge at the top because those bottom two are going to display zero. So once I did that, I let it run for a few minutes and that top one um, that top one, it was receiving air inside the trailer. The trailer was pressurizing, so I let it get to about 25 psi, and then I opened up the valves and let it offload into the customer's tank. I personally like to let it get to probably about 25, 28 psi. The reason being is once you open up your valves and let the product start going into the customer's tank, your psi is going to drop down because now you're relieving pressure from that trailer because it's going into the customer's tank. So it'll go from about 28 down to about 24, and once you do that, it'll settle down there. Yeah, and like I said, that's something you learn with time and experience. And that is true. Now, the principles that I'm saying are the exact same. It doesn't matter whether I'm hauling latex, I'm hauling this acrylic for the load that I'm talking about. Um, Yeah, it doesn't matter. I personally like to let it pressurize to 28 psi. It's all going to be the same. The only difference is you have to be aware of what you have in your trailer. If you have a partial load, which basically means your trailer is this tall basically, and you only have this much inside of it, obviously it's going to take longer to pressurize because the trailer is halfway empty. Versus if I have a load that's filled to the top, I can go and put the air on and start pressurizing it, and it's going to get to 28 very fast because the trailer is 95% full. So there's nowhere for that air to go. It has a very small area that is going to fill up. Um, then you have to take into account what you have in there. Let's say you have a thicker product that's very thick, like cold syrup. You have to watch the pressure because if you let it build up to 28 and start unloading, it's going to push through that hose very slow because it is incredibly thick. You see what I'm saying? So you might let it hit 28, but what's going to happen is even though it starts unloading, that pressure is going to build up faster because it hasn't increased the rate of unloading very fast. So you have to also be understanding of what you have in your trailer and also how much you have in your trailer. Um, it's synonymous to, let's say you're obviously if you're drinking syrup through a straw, it's going to flow through a lot slower than if you're trying to drink water through a straw. The same concept when you're unloading. If it's thick, it's going to take a little bit longer because it's thick versus a very thin chemical. Um, yeah, a pump operates relatively the same. You got to remember when you're airing a trailer, you have to keep the dome lid closed because you need to build pressure. When you're pumping off a trailer, you need to keep the dome lid open because I have a water bottle actually. If I can grab it and reach it, I have a water bottle. Spit out this piece of gum for you guys. So here you have your tank trailer right here. You see how there's liquid in it? It sloshes around. That's the surge you feel while driving. Now, if I'm using air to unload this trailer, essentially what I'm doing is taking and blowing into it. Now, if I had something at the bottom, you would see the force of this water fly out the bottom of this bottle very fast because I built up all this pressure and the pressure wants to equal out. Now, a pump is this as if you're sucking on the bottle. The pump essentially you're sucking the liquid out. If you suck on the water bottle and there's no way to equal out the pressure, you can suck the water out, but watch what happens. You see how the bottle crushes? That will happen to your tank trailer. If you don't have a way to equal out the pressure, the negative pressure buildup that you have, you're going to literally collapse your tanker trailer, which is why when you're pumping off, you need to have a source for it to equal it out, which is why I was talking about earlier. A customer might say they need a rear ventilation trailer because that customer that you're delivering to might have a policy where they say nobody's allowed to climb to the top. If you have a rear ventilation, there's a pelican valve at the rear end that you open and it allows it to suck in air to the trailer to equal out the pressure so you don't have to open the dome lid. So yeah, that's the difference. If you're unloading with air, you're going to pressurize it. And you see how much space there is in this trailer or this water bottle? There are some loads that I have where the trailer is that full. So that right there is going to require less air than if I that trailer is going to require less air than if I have a load with that much in it because all that empty space right there, it requires more air to fill it up. But that comes with time and experience. So you'll just that I can't teach you that. That just comes with spending time out on the road and doing the job. I can teach you. I can teach a person other tips and tricks. Like our local trailers, you can blow off the line. So basically, at the end of delivering, you'll have residue left over inside the hose. You'll have chemicals left over inside. So what happens in our local trailers, there's a valve that you can open which will allow air built up pressure inside that trailer to uh, bypass the internal valve because you have it closed. And what will happen is it'll allow it to, you'll close the internal. And now, because what you're going to always have a little bit of residual coming out of the trailer, just like if you drink an entire bottle of water, you're always going to have a little bit of water left over on the inside. So you have to close the internal valve so no more water can come out of this bottle. It's closed off. Well, even though this bottle is closed off, you still have a hose that connects from the bottle to the customer side. Excuse me. You're still going to have water inside that hose. So you need a way to get the water out. On our local trailers, you will have a bypass valve that actually is still connected to the air inlet for the trailer. So there's pressure inside that valve. You can actually open it up and it'll take some of that air and pressure in that trailer and push it through the hose where basically it's blowing out all that chemical into the customer's tank. So it blows out everything that's left over inside the hose. Well, as a system driver, system trailers can't do that. We don't have the ability to do that. So what happens is, this comes with time and experience. We have blow off fittings. Well, let's say my hose can connect directly to my trailer and directly to the customer's end, if I don't have a spot to blow it off, I can't blow it off. So what I'll do is I'll take a fitting that has a Chicago fitting at the bottom and I keep it closed. So when it's unloading, I can connect the hose. I can have the hose, instead of having the hose go straight to the trailer, I have the hose connect to the fitting and the other fitting connect straight to the trailer. So what will happen is when I'm done unloading, I can take my air hose and run it from and unhook it from applying air to the trailer. I can actually hook it to the bottom of that fitting because that's a Chicago fitting as well. Turn the PTO off so I'm not blowing air at the same time. Hook the hose to the Chicago fitting. Have the internal valve closed. I can open up that fitting, turn the PTO on, and instead of having a built-in blow-off valve from the trailer, I can actually use air from my PTO and accomplish the same thing. My trainer never taught me that. I had to learn that myself from being out here in the system, and that's why I'd like to be. That's one of the reasons I like to be a trainer, so I can teach a person that, especially if they're going to be a system driver. Um, yeah, you can, and that just comes with time and experience. Just learning how to play with the system, and this comes from a deeper understanding, an in-depth understanding of how to be a tanker driver, which is why a lot of companies will say, there are some companies that say we prefer you have 1 or 2 years of tanker experience because you come to go to that company with this knowledge. Let's say you don't want to use your air to blow off that line. You can have the customer side closed and have that same blow off valve. And what you can do is have your bucket at the bottom of it, open it up, and then just roll the hose up towards the trailer. And what will happen is because that blow off valve is open, all that liquid is falling through the hose and comes out the bottom into the bucket. And then when you see it's done dripping out, you just undo the hose, and there's nothing left in there. Call it a day. I mean, there's multiple ways of doing it. Yeah. Um, I prefer to run. This might sound crazy. I prefer to run a 2-inch hose than a 3-inch hose. Will a 3-inch hose unload faster? Absolutely, depending on the product. It'll unload faster. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait because I'm closing on this guy relatively slow. A 3-inch hose will unload faster, but a lot of times you can have a lot of extra product left over inside of a 3-inch hose. That just increases the ability for a spill. So I don't really run my 3-inch hose that often. If I'm running a 3-inch hose, it's because either the customer has a 3-inch hose that they want to use and that's their procedure, um, or there's a reason that I have to use it. Outside of that, I'll use a 2-inch hose. Um, 2-inch hoses are easier to move around, um, and yeah, they're easier to move around. They're easier to clean out at the end. This isn't a regular Schneider driver. He must be something else because it'll never take me this long to get by a Schneider guy. I'm betting money this is not a regular Schneider driver. I bet he's got to be like an outside, not an outside, but like an owner op or something, or a lease driver or something. Because I walk on them way faster than this. But anyway, yeah. So yeah. Um, but tanking is not that hard. It's not hard. Like all you have to be honest, I could show somebody. Do you usually go to the same customers every week? Um, to the same customers every week as far as what I'm delivering to? No, not really. Now where I'm picking up from when I'm out here in the road, yes. I'm usually picking up in Dow in Knoxville, Tennessee, Dow in Kankakee, Illinois, or Dow out in Deer Park, Texas, which is Knoxville is the one I go to probably majority of the time. Um, it's to the point now where even though I'm over the road, I'll show up to the Dow plant in Knoxville, Tennessee, and it doesn't matter whether it's day shift or night shift. um, they'll be like, "What's up, Raymond? How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm cool. I'm cool, and how you doing?" If there's like an issue with the load, like they're because I go so often, typically their procedure is like if there's an issue with the load, you have to go outside the gate and wait, and you have to walk back over and check in with them. I'll show up and they'll be like, they might say, "Hey, there's an issue with the load. It's not in the book for whatever reason." They'll be like, "Your shit is on the polymer side." I'm like, "All right, cool." So they're like, "Yeah, you know what you're doing." So I'll just drive over to the polymer side and be like, "What's up, John?" They'll be like, "What's up, Ray?" And I'm just like, they said something's up with the load. What's going on?" They'll be like, "Oh yeah, it failed. It failed the sample. The sample failed, so you might have to wait." I'm like, "All right, cool." And they're just like, "Yeah, it's at the lab right now." I'm like, "All right, cool." So because they know I'm not going to go in there and fucking argue because I go there all the time. You might have some drivers that'll show up. They're not regulars. They'll show up and then they'll be pissed. "Why isn't my load ready?" And they'll start yelling and cause a whole scene for no damn reason. They know me. They know I'm not going to cause a scene. They know I'm cool. So I'll go in there, and if they're like, "Yeah, it's like a 3 hour wait, it's kind of a backup." They're like, "All right, cool, no problem." I'll be like, "All right, cool, no problem." And then I'll just turn around and just get in my truck, and I'll leave and go sit outside because I'm not going to cause a scene. I know the policies that they have set in place. So they trust me enough to know that if there's an issue or something's going on, they know I'm going to do the right thing. Um, so that's why, you know, that's why I'm able to get away with doing stuff like that versus someone that's not a regular. They'll immediately tell them go sit outside the gate. Um, yeah, they'll let me go back there and talk to the people in the office with the two portables that we deal with. Because in Knoxville, there's two separate sides to the plant. They have an emulsion and a polymer side. So depending on where your load is picking up at, depends on what side of the plant you go to. So I'll go to whatever side, talk to the dudes in the portable, get my paperwork, shoot the shit for a couple of minutes. Because usually I'll take that time to take my 30-minute break. Because if I'm not taking 30-minute break, I can get in and out of that plant in maybe 10 minutes. Because it's very fast in and out. Because I know exactly what I'm doing. I can be in and out in about 10 or 15 minutes. Actually, to be honest, any of the Dow plants, because I go to them so often, I can be in and out in about 10, 15, maybe 30 minutes max if I'm taking a 30-minute break and I'm slow rolling. But if I'm hustling and bustling and moving fast and there's nobody slowing me down, I can be in and out in 10, 15 minutes. Um, the only Dow plant that I'm at for a long time is Dow in Midland, Michigan. That's a live load plant. You're going to spend probably about a good um, anywhere from 4 hours or more there because just loading by itself is a 3 hour minimum by itself. And then the whole check in process they have there is fucking insane. You have to you pull up there. If your loading appointment is at 6 a.m., you need to be at that plant by 4:30 in the morning. Because the plant is well, one Dow in Midland. Dow Midland is actually the plant headquarters. Dow's headquarters is Midland, Michigan. So, needless to say, that's probably one of their largest plants. So, if your appointment for loading is at 6 o'clock in the morning, you need to be there by 4:30, 4:45, because you have to get there, get to the main guardhouse, scale in. Once you go and scale in, the guy's going to confirm everything. That trailer has to be Dow prepped by a certain. It has to be Dow prepped a certain kind of way. They have to replace all the seals, all the gaskets, everything. And then he goes, which I've been there a few times, so he even knows me. So he actually is giving me the exact phone number that they have for the main office there that he works at. So if I have a load that I'm picking up there, I can call them and say, "Hey, can you see if my load is actually ready? They have enough of the chemical," because they have appointments, but they actually load 24/7. So let's say you have a 6 a.m. appointment and your 10-hour break is up at like midnight. You can call them and say, "Hey, do you have is Is this latex chemical ready? And they'll be like, yeah, come on over. You can just start your clock and go over and get loaded early because they load 24/7. So that and but only if you're a regular there will you know that. And if you're a regular there, you have the phone number. So if you're calling and you're able to call, they know, hey, you're a regular. They know you know what's going on. So I hate to tell you guys this, but I'm gatekeeping that one. So if y'all come over and start doing tanker, I'm gonna gatekeep that one. 'Cause I can't have y'all messing up my groove. Um, but yeah, anyway, long and short, you can go there and you'll get your stuff all signed in. He'll do all the paperwork. He actually goes out with an infrared like light and actually inspects the welds on the trailer to make sure the welds are good. He has like this whole harness and system he has where he'll actually get inside the trailer and go and inspect the welds on the inside of the trailer to make sure the welds are good. So that's usually about a 25-minute inspection. He'll come back inside the office and then he'll give you all your paperwork and whatnot that you got to give to the loaders. Once you leave him, you have to go to another guard shack, where they do another inspection on the inside of your truck. You check in there, and then they confirm that everything matches. Then you'll turn around and drive through this massive fucking plant to get to where you have to load at, and then you ring the buzzer, and then they'll let you in. And then you pull in, and then they'll tell you where to stop inside the bay because it's an indoor load. So they'll tell you where to stop according to which hose they have to put inside your trailer. So then, yeah, they'll then once you're in position, that's when they'll start loading you. So they'll start loading you around around your 6 a.m. time. So you might get there at 4:30, 4:45, but you won't actually make it to the rack where you're getting loaded until probably like 5:30, 5:45. It's like an hour long check-in process. Um, yeah, and then when you're done, you have to drive all the way back over to that second gate, check out at that second gate. They do another inspection. Then you leave there to go back to the very first waypoint where you first checked in, way out there. Then he'll weigh you, he'll scale you out, and then give you your paperwork. So yeah. Um, so if you have a live load at Midland, Michigan, if you're picking up a latex load, just understand that you're going to burn probably about 5 hours out of your 14-hour clock. Um, yeah, but you can take your 10-hour break there too. Um, so if your company is not super strict on you using like PC mode, if your company allows you to have a personal conveyance, you can get there and put your truck in PC. Obviously go off duty when you're not moving because you don't want to leave the truck in PC for 5 hours straight. But you can put your truck into PC mode, drive around anytime you stop, go off duty, hit the latex polymer loading rack, um, go off duty for like 3 or so hours, however long it takes them to load you, and then when it's time for you to leave that part of the plant to check out, go on PC mode, check out, do the whole checkout procedure, and then park right there at the main scale because it's a giant wide open area. Park at the main scale and take like your last 5 hours off, and then just get up and start driving. You logged a full 10-hour break, which you're able to get loaded. So yeah, and if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Oh, I know I've been on live for a minute now because I'm at what mile markers is coming up. I know I've been talking to you guys for a little minute on here because I'm at mile marker 34 and a half. Let me see. I've been on here flapping my gums for an hour and 37 minutes. Ugh. I wonder where I'm going to take my meal break at. I think I might take my 30-minute break over in West Memphis. Hell yeah. I might take my 30-minute break over in West Memphis. Because once you get past the truck stops out there in West Memphis, Arkansas, you're just you're in nothingness again. Um, yeah, I think I might whip out the old crock pot and not crock pot, air fryer and cook me up a nice shrimp meal, shrimp and uh, shrimp and rice and vegetables. Nice chatting with you, brother. I definitely learned some things from this live. I'm calling it a night. I gotta be up and yeah, for sure. Get you a little bit of rest before you go back in. I appreciate you sticking around and hearing me, yap away. But yeah, sure, but like I was talking about on TikTok, I I'll be on there more than I am on here, dropping videos and whatnot. So slide into the DMs over there on TikTok, cause over there I respond faster. Um, because well it's TikTok. So yeah, if you're over there on TikTok, that underscore rigger RIGGER underscore Gibbs, or just type in Raymond Keith Gibbs. It's me, and then you'll see my shit. So I mean, you can look at the channel and you'll see videos of me. Um, so yeah, slide into the DMs over there, and I'll connect with you guys over there. But anyway, yeah, get some more rest. And you gotta be up and at 'em soon. Do your thing, my man. Have a good night. Appreciate you coming in. I guess I'll go ahead and kill the live now too while I'm at it. I'm sure y'all tired of hearing my sexy voice. No, it's all good. Yeah, yeah. Even if you don't have an account, you don't have to upload shit. I have people that I talk to over there that have zero videos. They just literally have zero videos. They just get on just to watch and they comment and talk and we'll have conversations. They have like nothing on their account. So yeah, I mean that's completely normal. But yeah. Have a good night, and I guess I'll go ahead and kill the live. I appreciate you guys watching for the last fucking hour and 40 minutes. Take it easy, guys.